Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's live Q&A. I hope you guys are doing really good. I hope my audio is sounding all right and the picture is coming good on your guys' end. Let me know how you're doing in the chat today before we get started. I'll let a few more people trickle on in now that we're live. But let me know, as always, where you're tuning in from, what time it is, where you're tuning in from, and how you're going this week. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. I actually see some people in the comments that are in the chat, live chat, that I feel like we see every single week. So thanks for coming back if this is not your first time in one of these live Q&A sessions. And yeah, feel free to get started. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below. I'm going to start pinning them right now. There's only a few pre-submitted questions that we have from last week's video that we'll get to first, and then we'll get to your guys' live Q&As here in a moment. But yeah, this is going to be fun. Thank you guys for joining. Let's see what we're getting everything situated on my side. Awesome. We have Canada in the house. Nice. It's probably not too far off from our time zone here in Austin. It's 11 a.m. where we're at in Austin, Texas. John's in the chat. Nice. Hey, John. You're in New York City. Nice. Thank you, John, for the mustache compliment there. I appreciate that so much that I'll put it on screen. Hey, and if you guys love good content, get ready because John and Jungle Scout are about to do some pretty amazing things. John works at PickFu. He does some amazing content on his own, but we're excited. We're gonna collaborate with him next week. He's coming into Austin, and we're gonna do some pretty awesome stuff from the studio here. So keep your eyes on, keep your eyes ready for that. We're actually gonna send some emails that will give you a little glimpse into what we're filming next week. So that's gonna be fun. But cool. I'm gonna do a new intro here so that when we cut this for the pre-recorded folks, they're not too confused and wondering why we're just talking to ourselves for the first couple minutes of this. So we'll go ahead and get that started right now. I'll do a cool little intro. Welcome back to another live Q&A. My name is Jake, and today I'm going to answer all of your questions about selling on Amazon. If you're new here, this is a weekly live Q&A show where we answer your questions about getting started on Amazon or about growing your existing Amazon business. And as always, we're going to start with the pre-submitted questions that came from last week's video. And then we're going to get to all the questions live. So if you are watching this on the rerun, if you weren't able to make it live, no worries. Go ahead and add your questions in the comments below, and we'll carry all of those questions over into next week's video. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with our first pre-submitted question. And that question is, do you have to create a new listing if you change your supplier or make product modifications? This is a great question, but my answer is going to be very nuanced. And the reason why is because if your product change is something that might confuse the customer, or think of it this way. Imagine if a customer bought your product a month ago, you changed your product, and then they bought it again. Oops, let's see what happened with the camera there. Oh, give me 1 second, guys. What just happened? Technical difficulties. 1 second here. Not sure what that was. Sorry about that. Okay. I'll go back and answer this question from the beginning. Sorry. The first question is, do you have to create a new listing if you change your supplier or make product modifications? So think about it this way. If you had a product that a customer bought 2 months ago, and that same customer comes back and buys it, a couple weeks ago, and you change the product between then, if that change is going to confuse them, then you're going to have to create a new listing or a separate variation. You can call it the newly updated or newly revised product variation. And so that's sort of the the best answer I can give, because it really depends on your product change here. If you change a supplier, it's the same product, that's fine, as long as it's the exact same product. But if you're making a totally drastic change to the product itself, then you will either have to create a separate listing or create a separate variation. Or if it's just a very, very small change that a customer wouldn't notice, then you can just keep it on the exact same product page and on the exact same SKU. But just keep that in mind. How much you change the product will depend on which strategy or which route you need to go. Our second pre-submitted question is, how do I report a competitor for not following Amazon's listing guidelines? This is a good question. I'd rather just actually show you how to do that within Seller Central. So inside your Seller Central account, you can go to Performance, Account Health, and then right over here, you'll see Report Abuse of Amazon's Policies. You go ahead and click that, and within here, you'll typically find a lot of different things, but the one that you're looking for specifically is right here. Product detail page violates Amazon's policy. Go ahead and just put in their ASIN and what your issue is, and this should help get your case escalated. You could probably submit just a regular case as well, but this is the route that Amazon wants you to take, so I'd recommend going through that. I do believe, I could be wrong on this, but you may have to be brand registered in order to get access to the account health page. Maybe I'm wrong on that part, but essentially, to answer your question, that's how you would report abuse of any kind about your competitor. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. We're going to do this one more time. I don't know why it's happening, but I'll be right back. Stick with me. We'll be back on air in a second. All right. We're just going to roll with the punches today. If this happens again, don't worry. Lenny is actually in the office around here somewhere. He's a little busy, so he couldn't join today. He's the camera guy. We'll get it situated at some point. It's probably just like a power issue. We have it plugged in, but for some reason, just not working today. But all right, where were we? On to our next pre-submitted question. And that one is, at what point does Amazon cap the amount of stock I can send in? This will be my first time sending inventory into FBA. So a new-ish change for inventory limits happened around, I think it's last year, where Amazon is now uncapping inventory limits for new sellers, specifically new sellers. So in your first few months, you shouldn't have any inventory limits. But for those that are already selling and you want to know what your inventory limits are, or if you're a new seller, you just want to get ahead of the game, you want to know where exactly you can find that stuff. In Seller Central, you can go to Shipments, Inventory, Shipments here, and then at the bottom, you'll see this capacity monitor. You just pop that up, and then you'll see what I see here. Let me get rid of my face. But it's broken down by the product size. So standard size, oversize, extra large, or if you're selling apparel even. But standard size, what it will tell you, for example, is how much you have on hand. And keep in mind, this is using cubic feet, but Amazon's going to do its best to break it down into units for you, since that's what most of us it's easier to understand units than cubic feet. And then if you go to the I over here on maximum shipment, you can see your how much you can send in to Amazon based on that cubic feet. And again, this is all estimated. And the reason why it's that way is because products, you may have, like, for example, 5 different products, standard size products, and they're all a little bit different size and dimensions. So they take up different cubic feet in Amazon's warehouses. So That's why they can't just give you a number of units. Instead, they're giving you cubic feet and then estimating it based on your product sizes. But hopefully that's helpful. That's where you would find your storage limits, or really how much you can send into Amazon. And let's see here. Do we have another question? I think that was it. Yeah, so that was the final pre-submitted question, but now we're going to jump over to your guys' live questions. And yeah, we were just trying to prove this whole thing was live, by the way. That's why our camera's going on and off. So if you are here live, you're getting the true live experience of the technical difficulties. But go ahead and now drop your questions if you're joining us live in the live chat, or if you're watching this in the rerun, go ahead and drop your questions in the comments below. And just like that, man, oh man. One second. Oh my gosh, it's trying so hard right now. Okay. We're back. I'm gonna get to your your live questions right now. Man, this is a roller coaster. Hopefully you guys don't mind. Sorry about all these technical difficulties, but you know, it's Thursday, it's late in the week. Camera's probably on vacation mode already. So let's go ahead and get to the first question I saw come in today. And actually, let me remove that other question. This is a question that says, can you change your brand name on Amazon if your private label listing's already up and it's getting sales? You know, we discussed this a few weeks ago, but the best way of answering this is there's 3 different types of listings you can create. Or I'm sorry, 3 different types of brands that you can add to a listing. There's a registered brand, and that's when you're trademarked, and that's when Amazon's acknowledged that, and they give you what's called Amazon Brand Registry. The second 2 are a generic brand. And the third one is a unregistered brand. Now, what's interesting on Amazon is when you create a listing and you add your brand name in, that locks it, right? So whatever brand name you put in there, it's locked. So I guess really to answer this question in short is no, you can't change your brand name on that existing listing ever. But what you can do is you can register as an unregistered brand on Amazon. And when you do that, you don't have to have a trademark. But let's say in a year from now, you want to get a trademark for that brand name, you can. And then you just submit that information into Amazon that your trademark is pending. And then they'll turn that brand name that you've already added to your listing they'll give you brand registry essentially. So you can't change your name. So that's why it's really important to not use the generic brand name. Oh gosh, so sorry. I'm gonna go grab Lenny. Give me 1 second here. Couldn't find Lenny, but he should be back in here any minute. So yeah, back where I was. That's why it's really important when you're creating a brand to not use the generic brand name option. It's nice because that allows you to get started, but what I would do instead is come up with a brand name that nobody's already using in your niche, and you want to make sure it's a brand name that's not trademarked. And then that way, when you do eventually trademark it, you'll get accepted because obviously no one else owns that brand name. And real quickly, to do this, let's just pretend we're going to add a listing here. So we just go to catalog, add product. I'll show you kind of what this looks like. Dog pee pads. Just get us to this point where we can create a new listing here. I'm just going to type in dog pads to get us a category. Sure. And then come down here. Okay, cool. So here's like the brand name section. If you're not registered. Okay, camera went away, but no worries. I'm just going to finish this this thought here. If your brand isn't registered, you can just type in something unique like Jake's dog supplies are us, and are us. Are us? Yeah, I'm sure nobody has this trademarked. And so what I can do then here is I could, let's just say I don't have an ID, so I can hit save here, but I can click next, and what it's going to say is it's going to give me this error code and say, hey, you haven't registered that name with us. And so you click apply to sell, and it's going to bring you to the the unregistered brand application. You don't have to have a website, but if you can, it helps. But you really just got to check all these options off. And what this means is you're taking your product's packaging and you're putting your brand name on it. And you essentially submit those images to Amazon so that they can say, okay, that's a brand. That's what they're calling it. That's what customers are going to see on the packaging. And once you submit all this, which is, again, those images with your brand name on the product, then they'll give you access to your unregistered brand. But if you didn't go that route and you said this product doesn't have a brand name and turns it into generic, you can never change this now. And really, whatever you put here, you can't change. So that's why it's really important to not use that generic. But unless you're just trying to do like arbitrage or something, you don't really care about your brand name. Cool. I'm going to try to do this without the camera for a second, but we'll get it back on here. No worries about that. This next question is, can someone explain the new Amazon shipment rule? My shipment splits were grayed out, so I was forced to send 3 different locations. And actually, see, you followed up here, Paperboy, with 2 more comments. I only ordered 200 units. Could that be why? And it was actually 5 instead of 3 locations. So let me show you actually what you're probably looking at here. You go to your shipments. I have it bookmarked up here, but if you don't have it bookmarked, you just go to shipments right here. And let's just pretend that we're doing a new shipment. So I'll click send to Amazon. And let me get your original question up here. But what you're looking at here, if we pretend we're bringing in, some units here, I'm just going to do like an example so I can get to that point here. You're looking at the new FBA inbound placement fee, as Amazon's put it. So essentially, Amazon is now putting the cost on sellers to send inventory to where your products need to be in order to be close to your customers. Historically, we would just send our inventory into Amazon, and Amazon would then take it on a truck and bring it to different locations around the US, for example. And the whole idea there was, if you're sending in inventory into California, well, you have people in New York across the country buying your inventory or buying your product. So we need to get the product over there. And so Amazon was actually fronting that cost for a while, but now they're putting it on us unless you choose this option here, which is the Amazon optimized split shipments. This basically means you are going to be the one that sends it to all 5 of these locations here. Now, what you need to do in this case to avoid an additional fee is to ask your supplier, essentially get a quote. Say, hey, I need you to send, in this case, 2 boxes, which is 24 units to this location. I need another shipment of 3 boxes to this location, and do that for all 5 locations. You get a quote, and then you weigh that. And if that's more expensive, if that's cheaper than one of these other options, then you go with it. Otherwise, maybe it makes more sense to send just to 1 shipment here for $50 than it would be to have your supplier do it to 5 shipments. You basically just need to find the cheapest option is what I'm trying to get at here. But that's what you're seeing. This is a new part of the shipping workflow that Amazon's, again, putting it on us to front the cost of making sure our inventory is spread out or dispersed enough throughout the country, depending on where your sales typically come from. But yeah, that's a great question. And actually, see, there was a very similar question like that here. I hope I answered that question for you as well. But let me know if I can clear up anything for that question even more. This next question, and sorry, we'll get the camera back on here in a second. I just don't know what's going on with it, so I'm going to wait till Lenny comes back in the room. But this next question is, I'm struggling with product research. Where can I find ideas for what keywords and product ideas are currently trending? Firstly, I want to answer that question by recommending you watch more content, because what I'm about to say next isn't going to be isn't going to have like the most context or going to have like the best answer to it, just because I could probably spend hours talking about product and keyword research. But if you go to our main YouTube channel page and you click how to find a product to sell on Amazon, that's going to open up if you click play all here. Or actually, I guess you could do it that way. But it's going to basically open up our playlist. You can click actually like the name of it, and it's going to open up our playlist. We have a bunch of videos here that walk through different product research methods. And then we even did like a live product research series where it's very similar to this live Q&A, but we only did product research. And we showed you like in real time what's going on in our minds as we are trying to find a product to sell on Amazon. So I definitely recommend checking that out. Or, we have a lot of different playlists as well. You can even watch the $1 Million Case Study series if you want more of like a reality show style education for product research. This is a great series where we show you exactly how we launch our latest product on Amazon, and that's this product right here. But to give you an answer of like where to start, real quickly, give me just 1 second here. Cool. So yeah, sorry. What we're gonna try to get the camera back on, but what I'll show from here though is the Jungle Scout tool that I just mentioned. This is where you can go to find product ideas. Again, you want to watch these YouTube videos to learn how to use these tools. But the first tool is the product database inside of our product research section here. And this is a tool that helps you find, I'm just going to select some categories here just so I can show you. It helps you find products on Amazon with certain filters selected. So just like when you're shopping on Amazon as a customer, sorry, let me get that right here. Just like when you're shopping on Amazon as a customer, I don't know if you guys use these filters or not, but you could use these filters to find, all right, give me products that are, free shipping, or I want it today, a certain amount of reviews, or I want a certain amount of brands, or, I don't want to spend more than 40 bucks. Essentially, there's all these filters here that customers have, but on Amazon, at least, we don't have filters for sellers. And so that's what Jungle Scout is doing, is it's giving you filters like the price points or the average units sold for the product, which helps you gauge demand. If you want a product that's under 4 pounds and it's a standard size product, you can do all that here. And the product database is basically going to spit out products on Amazon that meet all of your criteria up here. And you can click into each one to look at more data. You can use the hyperlinks to actually see it on Amazon, and then use the extension from here, which is this nice little graph. And so that's just one way of finding products. We also have an opportunity finder tool, which does the same thing as the product database, but instead of giving you products, it's actually going to give you product niches. And so, essentially you put in, any categories here, some filters, and it's essentially going to give you like keywords that group products together. So here you can see what's a good one. Let's go. Oh, there's some crazy ones in here. Okay, maybe a bad example. Snoring devices. Okay, so snoring devices. You can now look at like the top products and go from here. But these are just a few ways to find the best-selling products. Another way I won't get into because this answer would just take way too long, but you can look for product ideas using keyword data. And so I'm just going to use one of these previous searches I have up here as an example, but like, let's say you're interested in selling pop-up gazebos. You could type that in and you can see what people are searching for on Amazon after essentially looking for this type of product. So if a customer is looking for a pop-up gazebo, what else are they looking for? And you can see here, canopy is a good example of one, tent for parties. What else? Easy up canopy, screen tent. So that's a different product. And you can click on it to see the search volume over time here and a lot of cool things. So you really get a lot of good data out of Jungle Scout. You can get product research data and you can get keyword research data, but really together is where the magic happens. So I'd recommend, again, going back over to our YouTube channel here and watching this playlist to get inspired of different ways that you can use our tools or even just free tools. We actually have a few free alternatives to product research that you can find by watching. I can't remember which video it is. I think actually this first one. We actually show you how to use like ChatGPT as well to do product research. So that's a good one. Definitely recommend watching that series though. Cool. Alrighty. Let's get to our next question here. I'm on a about to launch stage. Awesome. That's really exciting. And you're learning about PPC. Great. How important is PPC compared to other forms of driving traffic to your listing? And should I be setting up my PPC campaigns now? PPC on Amazon specifically is very important. And the reason why is because that's where people are buying. When you're comparing Amazon ads to other ads off of Amazon, no other ad will compete with Amazon in terms of conversion rate or in terms of sales volume, because when you get an ad on Amazon, for example, coming to this search term here, or this search page here, if I scroll down, if we ignore Amazon for a second, this is an Amazon Basics product. These first 3 products are ads. Now, I'm a seller, so I know to skip past these and go with the first row of organic results, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people aren't sellers. So the first thing they see is, this top ad over here. It's called a sponsored brand ad. And you scroll down, they just see these first 4 products, and they assume that these are the 4 best products or 5 best products on Amazon. And so, you click into it. I'm not going to do it to avoid making the seller pay for it, but you do Amazon PPC specifically for sales. If you're doing off Amazon promotions, it's great for brand awareness, and it's also great to just diversify your ad spend. We actually ran a case study doing Google ads to our Amazon listing, and we have a video, and sorry to keep plugging videos, but I do think it's better to direct you to it rather than me try to just give a specific overview of it. But this video right here, we ran a test using Google ads to our Amazon listing, and what we found is the Google ads were far more profitable, or a little bit more profitable. I think the ACoS difference was like 10 to 20%. But end of the story is, Google ads were more profitable than our Amazon ads. The thing is, for every 3 sales we got on Amazon, we got maybe 1 sale on Google. So we could spend like $1,000 in a week on Amazon and get, 5,000 sales, but it would take us maybe a few months to spend $1,000 profitably on Google and get close to the same amount of sales. So all that to say is Amazon PPC is the best way to get, especially new products, up and running, because in the very beginning, you need sales. And the reason you need sales is because you need reviews. And if you're looking to get those reviews, especially as quick as possible, then you want to invest in Amazon PPC, both learning how to do it as well as just testing different campaign types, different targeting types, different keywords. And so, I would definitely recommend starting Amazon PPC if you haven't already. And then if you're waiting for your product to come in, that's the best time to create campaigns. They won't go live until you have inventory, so you don't have to worry about campaigns just turning on and customers click on it and there's nothing to buy. That won't happen, so you can always get a head start and create those campaigns now. And then once that inventory arrives, they'll turn on and you don't have to waste any time getting sales. But that is a good question, especially when you're past the beginning stage, is when you can really start thinking, or should start thinking, about off Amazon ads. Good question. What are the reasons that Amazon bans your store? And then a follow-up question to that actually was, I heard that after getting a specific amount of orders returned from customers, your store can get banned. Is this true? Going back to the first question, there's so many different ways that you can get banned, but it's always going to, for the most part, be a user issue. It could be a mistake that you've made, or it could just be obviously a bad actor or somebody who's done something they shouldn't have been doing. But typically, either way, Amazon will always warn you beforehand and allow you to change or rectify the situation. And so one common issue, or one issue that I'm aware of at least, is when you fake reviews, for example. If you have obvious friends and family members leaving you reviews for your product, Amazon's got some sophisticated technology that we don't know about where they can connect friends and family especially. It's probably based on previous addresses that are entered into the Amazon profiles. That's just my guess, but that's one example of going against Amazon's rules of not having friends and family leave you product reviews. And going back to your question about customer returns. That certainly could happen, but it doesn't happen if your product is getting returned a little bit more than others. There's a new fee that Amazon has just introduced. I can't remember the name. It's like a high return rate fee. Essentially, if like the category of products similar to yours has like a 10% return rate, but you have a 20% return rate, so you're well over the average, then you will get penalized for those returns that are past that average, essentially. But for the most part, you shouldn't have to worry about a ban unless it gets really, really, really bad. And typically, it's always like a bad actor. It's never a mistake or something that's just like very little. It's usually something that was deliberately done or ignored after Amazon's had multiple attempts of trying to have you rectify the situation. But yeah, great questions, guys. Keep the questions coming. Be here for another like 20, 30 minutes if the questions allow it. And yeah, appreciate you guys joining today, even despite the technical difficulties. Thank you guys for that. Question here is, do we need to have expiration dates on the product's packaging, even though the product isn't a consumable one? No. Unless your product is consumable, you don't need an expiration date. On the label itself, or I'm sorry, on the product packaging, you just need your FN SKU, which is your Amazon barcode. You can also use a UPC code if you don't have an FN SKU code. And then on that FN SKU code, you need where it's produced. So, for example, made in China. And so that's really all you need. You don't have to worry about expiration dates unless, obviously, you're selling a consumable product. Or maybe there's some categories that I'm just unaware of that Amazon wants you to have that. But for the most part, I don't think that's the case. All right, question here. My product is listed already on Amazon, but I want to improve the listing. Do I need to relist the product with improvement, or can I improve the current list? No. So earlier we actually had a similar question, and the question was actually about improving the product itself. So making a physical, tangible change to a product. But now you're talking, this question is about the listing. So like the keywords, the images, videos, all that. You do not have to relist if you're going to update your listing. So yeah, don't worry about needing to delist or having anything go wrong. Just change your listing for the better, and you'll have no issues there. Selling portable cabin houses, is it more profitable? I have no idea. That's a good question. I didn't know you could buy cabin houses on Amazon. Cabin houses. I'm not sure. Oh my gosh. Holy crap. I mean, surely there's got to be some profit here, but that's wild. Okay. Well, I have no idea. That's an interesting question, but I would assume with those prices, there's got to be some profitability there. What is the difference between private label and brand name? So private label is just like the business model. Think of it that way. The brand name is, you could actually have a brand name without being a private label brand. Wholesalers sometimes will form an LLC or trademark a brand name, but they don't have to. For private label, specifically on Amazon, you will have to have a brand name if you're going to if you want to gain access to a lot of cool features that brand registry unlocks. And so, yeah, like if you want a storefront, for example, if you want the ability to access video campaigns, video advertising campaigns, that is, then you will have to have a brand on Amazon, a registered brand. So private label is, again, just the business model of the idea of taking a generic product and slapping your logo on it like this. Now, this is not a generic product. This is a Yeti product. And if you look underneath it, oh gosh, I'm so scared to spill this, but right there, that text says patent pending. This is not a generic product because Yeti owns this specific build and this design probably too. But a generic product would be a non-patented version of this product where you slap your logo on it, and that would make it a private label business. Essentially, a private label business is taking a product, slapping your logo on it, and selling it to a customer. Hopefully that helps clear it up. I know when I first started selling on Amazon, I was always so confused by that. I was like, how are you able to just buy products that exist already and then slap your logo on it? That feels like stealing, but that's what a lot of businesses do. Think of the biggest brands in the world, even like Kirkland Signature, which is Costco's own in-house brand. They're essentially going to manufacturers to buy generic products that aren't patented, and then they're slapping their Kirkland Signature brand on it. And then they could be making modifications. That's part of the private label business model. You could just sell a generic brand as is and put your logo on it, or you could take that product, and especially in China where their manufacturing capabilities are endless, you can ask them to actually tweak the product for you. So you do bring something new to the market. And then you can decide from that point whether it's worth it, or you have the resources to patent it, to protect that, or if you just want to sell it, unpatented, unprotected, you can do that as well. So hopefully that helps clear it up. I definitely know that's a common blocker when first getting started with Amazon is what is private label? What are the limitations and how does it all work? So I'll feel free to ask any follow-up questions on it, and I'll make sure to give some more context if I can. Yeah. All right, see if I can answer this question. United States is that international for me? I sell handbags, private label. How much should I worry about 30 days return? Maybe I'm gonna answer this in not the way that you were hoping, but or intending. Are you referring to how do you handle returns as being an international seller? So if you're selling in the U.S. but you live outside of the U.S., where do the returns go and how do you set those up? If that's the case, there's 3 ways to get rid of products on Amazon. So after someone returns a product, it either can go back into your inventory if the Amazon worker deems that it's in perfect new condition. If it's not a new condition, then it falls into one of 3 categories to get rid of it. You can return it to an address, which is maybe where your concern is coming from, where do you send it? On that, I have no idea if they can send it outside of the United States for you. It would be more expensive, but I don't know if that's a capability of Amazon. But essentially, return to address. You can have Amazon dispose of it, which may be cheaper than having them sending it to a location. So they'll just get rid of it for, I think, a very small fee. Or is it free? I can't remember. I feel like there's a fee there. And then the third one is a liquidation, where essentially they're going to sell it to somebody for pennies on the dollar and give you a very, very small kickback. So, if your product cost is usually $20, you might get $3 to $4 back from Amazon. But those are the 3 ways to handle returns. Hopefully that answered your question. But again, feel free to follow up and I can give you a more specific answer if I didn't answer that how you were hoping. Yeah. Next question here is, can I list the product photos of Alibaba on Amazon? You probably can. You'd have to ask the supplier if they own the images and if they will allow you to. That's probably something you want to do. I don't know if it's something you have to do, but I think you would want to ask their permission. But I would strongly urge you not to do that. The reason why is because, 1, you could probably do way better. 2, maybe they actually did a really good job and you're well, I can't do better. They did a great job. The second reason why is because certainly there's somebody already selling that product or could easily come in and compete against you and use the exact same images. And as a customer, I've seen myself so many products that look the exact same. The image is the exact same and it feels cheap. It feels like the manufacturer selling it to me, or it feels like I don't know, it feels cheap is what I'm trying to get at here. And so I would urge you not to use their images. Maybe there's one image that you can take and modify even, but yeah, I would definitely recommend going out and getting better images and really understanding what customers care about on Amazon and then taking images of those. And if you want kind of help into that, I highly recommend checking out our latest YouTube series. It's our last 3 videos actually. It's these ones that say, we fix this product's ugly Amazon listing. And what we do in this series is we show you how we would optimize a listing from the photos to the videos to the bullet points in the title and all the keywords. And part of that is we use reviews on Amazon. So customer reviews to figure out what people are talking about. What do people like? What do they hate about the current products on the marketplace? And then that informs what images and videos we need to take on our listing so that we get out in front of those fears or of those expectations of the product. And so I highly recommend checking out the 3-video series that we have up right now. It will help you understand what type of images will work best for your listing. And I also forgot to plug a whole video that actually talks about images. This one right here, the 20 types of images that convert sales on Amazon. So I'd watch those videos first and then maybe come to this one. This will give you a good idea of like the types of images, like infographics and comparison or competitor comparison images that work really well on Amazon. Cool. Yeah, your follow-up to this is a good question. How can a person check the product quality on Alibaba? To check the quality of the product itself, you're going to have to just order a sample. Like if you physically want to see what the quality is, there's no other way than actually just ordering a sample. Samples could range from like 15 to like $100. I think we typically pay around 25 to 50 because of the shipping cost. So it's a minor investment, but it's an investment that will go a long way if you're at that final stage and you really want to see if the product's going to last over time, or if it's what it looks like in the images. But real quick here, I have Alibaba pulled up. One way that you can get a better list of suppliers from this main search page here, so I just typed in pee pads for dogs, is to use these filters over here. This is a new one I got to look into, but essentially what I like to do is I like to find verified suppliers. I've always actually just done this first one, but they've came out with verified pro supplier, which is probably even better. But I always at least select verified supplier, and then I'll even select trade assurance. Trade assurance, in short, is essentially like insurance on your purchase orders. So if you order something and it just didn't come the way it was supposed to, Alibaba, the company itself, will help you get your refund or help rectify the situation. So I essentially look at it as if a product or a supplier isn't using this trade assurance program, they have something to hide, or they have a lot to lose and they're just not the best supplier to work with. And so these are 2 filters I love to use. And then if you're selling in the US specifically, or this also works for any other country, scroll down here, and this previously exported to filter is really helpful. I'm always going to select the US because I'm selling in the US, but what this filter does is it finds suppliers that have actually sent products into one of these countries. And I like that because there's different quality standards across countries. Like if I choose, these probably all have very similar qualities, but there's definitely a difference between products that are made for the United States and products that are made for somewhere else. So I would always just kind of use some filters here to narrow down the best suppliers. But in terms of like the product itself, you will still have to order a physical sample so that you can test it yourself. Sometimes it's good if you're just working with one supplier or thinking of working with one supplier to order 4 or 5 units at one time. It shouldn't increase your cost that much. Again, it's the shipping cost. It's not really the product cost that's going to be a lot of money for the samples. So you could order multiple samples and then compare them apples to apple. Are they doing a good job of evenly, producing their products is another part of the product quality check you want to do. There's obviously like, is the product look good, act good, whatever. But then also like if they do 1,000 of these, are they all going to be good, or are there going to be a couple bad eggs? And so by ordering multiple units at a time for a sample could be a good way of really figuring that out. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question there about figuring out the product quality on Alibaba. Registering Amazon USA with an LLC versus global selling from India, which is more profitable? I don't know which one's more profitable. I imagine very little difference because you're specifically talking about like forming a business either in the US or in India. And so profitability in that case would just come down to how expensive it is to form an LLC. I can tell you firsthand in the US, my route, I kind of went a very expensive route. I hired a company like LegalZoom to form my LLC for me, which is a premium way of doing it. And that was like $500. So on the high end, it cost me $500 in the US, and in India, I have no idea what that would cost, but it shouldn't matter too much in terms of profitability where your business is from, or business is formatted, or formatted, is that the right word? Formed? But yeah, let me know if that didn't answer your question exactly, but it really shouldn't matter profitability wise where you form your LLC. But Keep in mind, if you want brand registry in the United States, you will have to have an LLC in the United States. Essentially, your brand has to be registered with Amazon in each of the marketplaces that you want brand registry. So just keep that in mind as well. If I have an unregistered brand and I list a product under a new brand name, does Amazon give A+ content all those features of the trademark? So the best way of thinking about it is you'll have a brand, and let's say that brand is registered, and so you get all those features that you mentioned, like A+ content. You can launch different products underneath that brand, and that's completely fine. You'll get all the same access. It's when you launch a separate brand that isn't brand registered that you'll lose that access just on those listings. So a lot of times people will have one Amazon account and like 3 brands, and each of those brands either have brand registry or maybe just one of them does. But what you could do as well is like you can create a generic brand name. That's what we've done at Jungle Scout. Our listing actually is we're called Jungle Creations. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. Our brand name is Jungle Creations, and that's what we applied for and got brand registry for. And that Jungle Creations brand name allows us to really sell anything. Like we've historically sold jungle sticks, a bunch of different like products in here, and so it allows us to like it makes sense to sell different products. If you had like a brand name like Jungle Dog Products, and then you were going to sell something in like a clothing item that wasn't dog related or pet related even, then it wouldn't make as much sense. It may not matter as much, but as a customer that's looking at your product and they see your brand name, it might confuse them a little bit. So keep that in mind. You don't have to always create separate brand names. You could just create one generic brand name, and that allows you to really launch whatever product you want. Okay, here. It's an interesting question. Many online content creators on YouTube often claim that anything below $20 is not considered viable. Why is that in your opinion? So we actually teach the same thing. And I will say this first, there are certainly products on Amazon under $20 that are profitable. Those are products that obviously sell like crazy because there's very little friction points with the customer. You don't really have, it's like an impulse buy essentially, right? With that said, if you're just selling a few units, it's not going to be that profitable. Basically, under $20, you need to have insane volume. And that's because your margin for profit margin is going to be very slim, typically. So let's say you have a product you're selling it for $15. Your cost should be under $5 for that. What we like to think of as a good way of thinking about profitability is the rule of thirds. 1/3 of your product price. So let's say your product price is $30, right? 1/3 of your product price at most should go to your manufacturing cost, right? So at $10, that's like your max that you want to aim for producing the product. The other 10% goes towards your Amazon fees. And you have a lot of Amazon fees to consider, and Amazon has recently added new fees. So I think that actually is a number that should be more than 10%, or at least between your product and your Amazon fees need to be under $20, under 20%. So combine those two costs together, your cost of manufacturing, your cost of goods, and Amazon fees. If it's under 20%, it should be a good deal because you want that other 10%, that final third. You want that final third to go towards your pocket. Essentially, 10% to your manufacturing costs, 10% to Amazon, 10% to you. And that's actually a number I think it should be even higher. You should aim for more than 10% going to you because there's so many things that you need to think about on Amazon, like operational costs that just come up, like when a customer returns a product. That's something you hopefully plan for, but it doesn't come up every single order, so it may not have came up in your initial calculation. So I would definitely recommend not selling products under $20 because it's harder to get that split between Amazon fees, cost of goods, and then profit. If you're over $20, now you can start looking at products that may require a customer to do a little more research into, but since they're not doing an impulse buy, they're open to spending $30, $40, $50, even $100 in some cases, depending on your product. And when you are able to sell higher ticket items, you don't need as much volume. You may just only need a couple people every day to buy your product, whereas with a very low price product under $20, you may need 20, 30, 40 people to buy your product in order for that per unit profit margin to be sustainable. So that's why I think a lot of people on YouTube specifically say stay away from $20. It's not impossible, but for a new person coming in to Amazon, it's very, very hard to be profitable and scale. I'll answer this in one more way, but the people who are very successful selling under $20 products are typically people that already have an audience that they can just send all that traffic to. And even if they're making $2 profit, well, if 100 people buy that every day, that's pretty profitable for them. Or people that are launching accessories. So they sell products that are above $20, and they come up with these under $20 products to be like add-ons, or basically it helps their average order value. If someone's usually buying a $30 product, now with this lower price product, they've increased their cart to like $40. So just keep that in mind. If you're just going to launch one product, I wouldn't try to do anything under $20 for those reasons. I want to build a brand, not just to sell on Amazon. Where to start? This is a really good way of thinking about it. I love this thought. So you want to build a brand, but you don't just want to sell on Amazon. If I'm understanding that correctly, I think that's a great way of thinking about it, because a lot of people think of starting on Amazon as like a product thing, right? I'm going to launch this product. But really, on Amazon, you should really be thinking about the brand that you're launching, because over the course of a few years, you hopefully will launch additional products to that same customer. And if you don't want to sell on Amazon now, it's totally fine. Or if you don't just want to sell on Amazon, I would still start on Amazon. Amazon is going to be the best place that you can get up and going. It makes e-commerce possible for somebody with a 9-to-5 or someone with even a part-time job, because Amazon takes care of all the hard things, right? They take care of the fulfillment. They take care of the storage. They take care of the customer returns, and at least in accepting them back, and the customer service even. Amazon's a well-oiled machine that sells for you. On Shopify, for example, you have to bring in traffic. You got to get people to want to go to your website, enter their card information for the very first time, and then purchase the product. And then once they see the shipping, it's probably not going to be 2-day shipping. But then you got to get them to agree on like a $4 or $5 shipping cost, most likely. And that's why Amazon is very good, because it's the conversion rate that you will have on Amazon is unmatched anywhere else. So it allows you to actually get sales on Amazon, and get your listing to a couple hundred reviews or a couple thousand reviews even. And then you're like, hey, I have a real business here. Let me launch more products. And then you actually expand outside of Amazon to be more diverse and to not have your eggs all in one basket. But you can definitely, or I would definitely recommend starting on Amazon first and then spreading it around to different platforms. But also, I do like what you're thinking here. You want to start a brand, and that's great to think about. But yeah, hopefully that answered the question there. Let's see here. Let's see here. Sorry, going back to trying to find the questions where I was at. Kim asked the question, can I launch a product on Amazon without buying courses? Is just watching teachings on YouTube good? Yeah, absolutely. It's something that like I'm very passionate about. You definitely don't need to buy a course to learn e-commerce. I'll just leave it at that. I was gonna say everything, but there's probably some niches where you do want to buy a course, but Amazon is not one of them. I mean, Jungle Scout, that's what we do. We release free content. And like we don't even have, like, we are not what's it called, Amazon ads, or I'm sorry, Google ads. We don't even have that set up here. So we just have, we just release free content to everybody. We have a full how to sell on Amazon course. So if you go to our channel, it is this first video right here under the Start Selling on Amazon playlist. And it's a 2-hour long video that teaches you how to sell on Amazon. And we're certainly not the only people doing this type of content. If you want to learn how to sell on Amazon, you definitely do not need to buy a course. If you have the resources and you can justify it, maybe there's someone that you really trust and they have like a one-on-one part of it, right? It's like a community and you get to talk to that person. That could be beneficial because then you get your questions answered very similar to this, but in like a one-on-one setting. But in terms of like the education, in terms of the knowledge, you don't need to buy that. Everything should be on YouTube for the most part. And then the other half of that is you need to learn just by going through the process yourself. I can testify that I learned a lot, even from like Jungle Scout videos. But when I started selling on Amazon for myself, a whole new level of education was unlocked. You always learn through mistakes. You always learn through just going through things yourself. And that's going to be way better than any video or any blog will ever be able to teach you. But to answer your question, you absolutely can start just by watching YouTube videos. I've seen a few questions similar to this. Do I need an LLC to sell on Amazon from blank, from Pakistan, from India, from anywhere? The answer is no. You don't need an LLC to sell on Amazon, but you do need an LLC to get brand registry in the market that you're selling in. And so I mentioned this earlier. If you're selling in the US, but you live in Pakistan, for example, if you want brand registry in the US, you will have to get a LLC in the US. Or I'm sorry, I'm talking about trademarks now. Two different things. Sorry. What I was talking about was trademarks. Trademarks, separate from LLC, is what unlocks brand registry. LLCs you do not need. You can sell as an individual person on Amazon, and that's completely fine. The only disadvantages to that is it's harder to get things like a business credit card, right? Which could be very nice for like points and things. And if you are, you protect yourself a little bit more with an LLC. If someone on the off chance were to sue your business for some reason, anything they come after can only affect your business. It won't affect you as a person. And so an LLC helps you unlock business rewards essentially, but it also helps protect your business. But sorry to confuse that. I confused it originally with brand registry and getting a trademark. But to answer your question, you do not need an LLC to sell on Amazon, but it does help. And it's really cheap actually. Again, I got mine for like $500, and that was on the high end because I used a service like LegalZoom to get it for me. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, good question. The weekly update is asking, should we wait to get a few reviews before advertising, so with PPC, or go for PPC as soon as we launch? So this is one that I kind of always go back and forth on. Originally, I used to say you need to be retail ready is the phrase that a lot of people would use. And that would mean you have at least 10 reviews, and those 10 reviews are at least a 4.5 or up, or even a 4. I think that would work as well. And that's like basically like the bare bones retail readiness means you have at least 10 4-star reviews. But how do you get those reviews? If you can't get those reviews right away, and so one way of getting those reviews is through the Amazon Vine program. If you're okay with, it's going to take a little bit. When you request the Amazon Vine reviews, you may not get that within the first 2 weeks even. Oh crap, it looks like the camera went down here, but no worries. Let's see. That's all right. Turn it back on. I'll keep answering this, but yeah, when you do Amazon Vine, you'll typically get some reviews, but they may not come in right away. And so in that time, you are going to be paying Amazon storage fees. So you just need to consider that. And if you're not getting reviews fast enough, then you may just want to launch advertising campaigns. And those advertising campaigns, the conversion rate will be very low at first, but it will help you get your reviews. So how we like to look at it is you're using advertising as an investment, and you're trying to invest in your review count essentially. So those two trains of thoughts are, you could go the retail readiness route, use Amazon Vine to get 10 reviews, wait a little bit of time. It may even be a few months before you get those reviews, and then launch ads, and those ads will be a little bit more profitable. Or if you don't want to waste time and you don't want to waste storage cost, then you could use PPC to get those reviews, but just understand that it's going to cost a little bit more, and you'll essentially be investing, is how I would like to look at it, into your listing. I actually personally like to just be more aggressive and use ads in the beginning, but I totally understand, and I've totally have done the other side of that, which is waiting till your listing is retail ready. Cool. We'll do a couple more questions. We are running up on the hour, but if I don't get to anyone's questions here, don't worry. You can add them as comments below, and then we'll carry over any that we didn't answer into next week's pre-submitted section of the live Q&A. But these have all been great questions. Thank you guys so much for asking all these questions. And sorry the camera situation keeps going in and out, but that's all right. We'll get maybe one more question here. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to where I was at. Oh, good question. Yeah, how do I, people often talk about dummy listings before actually putting an actual product on the listing. How does that work? The answer to that is, so if you're trying to create the listing, you can actually create the listing without having inventory into Amazon. And that allows you to put a title in place. That allows you to get bullet points and a description in place and really have all like your back end details in place. That way, when inventory does arrive to Amazon, your listing just turns on. And I think that's a good strategy because right when your listing comes into Amazon, you're going to start accruing storage cost or storage fees. And so basically, the more prepared you are for your inventory to arrive, the faster you'll be able to get up and going and get your ads going. So essentially, yeah, you just you create a campaign, create a listing, and then it won't go live until your inventory arrives at Amazon. And we have a video that shows you how to create an Amazon listing. If you scroll down, we have a whole series of creating, a whole series of how it's on Amazon. I think the video is this one right here. It's part of our How It's on Amazon series. You could also just watch our full video that I called earlier, which is right here, and then skip to that section, which is, if you use the description as a guide, we have all these bookmarks here. And let's see, somewhere in here. But yeah, essentially, yeah, how to build your listing. So yeah, you could build a dummy listing, and then once your inventory arrives, you're all ready to go and get it selling. So hopefully that helps. Yeah. And then, guys, I see there's a lot of questions here that I unfortunately couldn't get to, but if you're able to join us next week, I'm going to transfer these questions over to next week's section, the pre-submitted section, which is the very first thing we'll get to next week. And so, yeah, make sure to join then. If we, for some reason, don't go live next Thursday, then we will pick it up the following Thursday. But we do try to go live every Thursday for these live Q&As because I know they're really helpful, and I love seeing the same people coming back. So thank you guys for joining. And if this is your first time, thank you so much for being here. And hopefully you guys have a great weekend ahead, and we'll see you next time. Take care.